We are live on TikTok. It's the Atheist Underground. Let's see who's going to join first. Who's going to join first? Who's going to be first? Who's going to be first? Get on board now. Who's going to be first? Who's going to be first? Looks like anybody there? Kevin? Is that you, Kevin? I see your little face down there. MKIK17 joined. You are the first one to pop up on my screen, my friend. Grim Guy 44. User a lot of numbers. Welcome aboard. Chadrick 75. Move to the back of the train, please. Farley. Jason Biggs. Blood Loss. User a lot of numbers. iPad, hook up quick. It sounds Hawaiian. Polymath. Townsend Barbecue. Love barbecue. Got my barbecue shirt on. User a lot of numbers. Old Lady Nias. Keep on moving. Move on to the back of the car so you make room for everybody. Hello from Chicago, Polymath. How you doing today? What's going on in Chicago? Kind of a great day like it is here, I'm sure. User a lot of numbers. My advice to all you user a lot of numbers people, think of a clever username. Go ahead and do it, man. Don't be afraid. Sideway 1229. Decam 27. Carter Reesley. Are you there, Kevin Rubix? I see your face, I think, but I didn't see your name come up. Yeah, overcast today. A little bit windy. Heifer Gal. That's not how you spell heifer. Jesse Zapata. What's up, Jesse? Tin Leaner. I am on YouTube, and I don't want to forget anybody on YouTube. It doesn't look like I can see the comments. I don't really know how to fix that. But you know, what are you gonna do? The YouTube gives me issues sometimes. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but right now it's working and I can see my face on it. So if you're on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Hello from Minnesota, Northwest Minnesota. Wow, that's really up there. All aboard! Get your tickets ready. The conductor will be coming around to take them from you. And we appreciate you being here. I'm gonna switch over to the engineer hat and get my friendly whistle out. I was thinking about maybe using the whistle, the little obnoxious whistle for the trolls and the people who need like a buzzer, like a wrong buzzer, and this is the good one, right? Hello from New Jersey, my friend. First time to be here live. All right, dude. That's user a lot of numbers who says that. Thanks for joining us. I hope to get more new people all the time. We went live with Apostate Aladdin on Friday, and I do love going doing the dual lives, and that was really edifying for me. He's a great, smart kid, and really interesting to learn about Islam, because I don't really know shit about Islam other than, you know, they seem to be fundamentalist wackos who make the news just like the Christian fundamentalist wackos make the world news over there. And you know, we know that there's a lot of good Muslims out there who are just trying to be good people, and unfortunately they get a bad rap here. So it's nice to hear from an apostate out of Islam who can actually speak to why he left, what the Quran's really about, what he thinks about the culture and the religion they're growing up in Saudi Arabia. So I think that probably gained me some followers from his side, and I think that that does that for the dual lives. Maybe we expose each other to each other's fan bases. Can you name one NBA player for me besides LeBron James? What is that about, Jeremiah? Steph Curry. Oh, there you go. If I put my mind to it, I could probably think of others. I haven't watched the NBA really in a long time. It's just kind of lost its flavor for me. I'm not. Are you trying to say that I'm like such a geek that I don't know anything about sports? What's that really about? Colin Mustache, Carolina Sunrise, Easter Robinson, Alex Armack. Use a lot of numbers. Handful of pills. I love that. Great name. Alex and Alexander Martin. Just where we go. Oh, yeah. All Abraham's religions are problematic. I don't know if they're Abraham's religions, but they're Abrahamic. That's what we call them. This message is only available to TikTok users premium. What's that about, Brandon Breyer? I don't pay money to be on premium. Is that what that is? Do I get like less commercials on my feed or something? Good morning, Mr. Atheist. Is that what that is? Thanks, non-crazy cat lady, and thanks for being here, baby. Love you a long time. If you're spamming, get rid of them. We don't need that. Hey, Courtney, the first one. God bless you. She's the first one to tell me God bless me, or Jesus loves me, or that she's praying for all of us. No, you're not, Courtney. You're praying for you. That's what you do when you pray. You pray to make yourself feel better, because it doesn't do anything else. I was really interested to see the study they did about people in the hospital who were receiving treatment that were subject to a study about prayer, whether prayer works or not. And some of the people were prayed for, and some of the people weren't prayed for. And some of the people that were prayed for knew that they were being prayed for, and some of the people that were prayed for didn't know that they were being prayed for. And the fabulous part of the whole thing was it actually turned out that the people who got prayed for did worse. and that, who knows if that's I didn't look into the actual stats. If you could say that's just a coincidence but I thought that was pretty funny. The prayer actually had the opposite effect. So we need science. We don't need prayer. Shoot in one hand, pray in the other. See which fills faster. Nice. Yeah, prayer plus placebo. Yeah, and then the placebo didn't even work. Haha, prayer. Just because this life is a vapor. All right, I remember the Vapors. There were remember that turning Japanese. I'm an turning Japanese. I really think so. The Vapors were a cool new wave band for 2 albums, and then they shit the bed and left. Y'all care way too much about what? Van Slayer? That Indian residential school vid was a major eye opener. Wow, thank you. I thought everybody knew about that. If you haven't been paying attention, it's really disgusting. And I said hundreds, and I meant thousands. Apparently, people were correcting me. A couple of people were like, "It's thousands of graves that they found." And a lot of these, I don't think it was like a mass extinction event. I think that they just had horrible conditions, and a lot of them died from disease, from whatever, neglect, abuse. It's not like they lined them all up and shot them and dumped them in a mass grave like the Nazis did with concentration camp victims. But the fact is that they didn't take care of these kids, and the reason that they were there in the beginning was to assimilate them to Western culture and destroy their native culture, destroy their language, force them to assimilate to a Western way of life. And if it happened in Canada, you can goddamn be sure that it happened in America. And America had like 4 times as many churches, not surprisingly, or residential schools as America did. And it was a way to, to beat the Indian out of the Indians. It was just a disgusting display of Christian entitlement and American and North American and Western ideology being driven down people's throats, and an attempt to erase a people from the planet. And when whatever was convenient for them, they just got rid of these kids. They took them out of their homes with no permission. They just went and grabbed these kids and shoved them in residential schools and tried to force them to be Americans or Canadians, and forget about their Native American tradition and culture. And all of us, for a long time, anybody with a heart has been ashamed of the way that Indigenous people were treated on this continent. I had no idea that it went on like that in Canada. I tend to think of Canada as like a nicer version of the United States, where people are a little more reasonable, and a little less zealous, a little less gunslinging, a little less American, honestly. And maybe that's not as true as I thought it was. And I was very, very disappointed to see that the Canadian government behind it too. They were the ones who set up the residential schools, and they let the religious orders run them, and it was 75% Catholics. I don't mean to single out Catholics. They're just, the most powerful religion as far as denomination goes, and they did run the majority of the schools. But other, Lutherans or whoever else ran some of the other schools too. So they're not, they're not free and clear from guilt in this whole thing. But the Catholic Church and what they've been getting away with for millennia, really, from the Crusades to the Inquisition to witch burning and heretic burnings and persecution of other types of Christians, and just but piling away money and land and wealth and entitlement. It's just disgusting. And I said I left it out of that video, and thanks everybody for loving the video. It blew up overnight pretty good. And I took off the hat and I took out the whistle, and I did a more serious take on a serious subject, and it was really well received. So I appreciate that. But I left out my feeling that if you're a Catholic today and you still go to Catholic Church and you support the Catholic Church with your words of apology, with your excuses, with your membership, with your attendance, and most importantly, with your money, with your tithing, then you are complicit in these crimes. You disgust me. You are an accomplice to these crimes against humanity. If you still go to Catholic Church and give your money, it's inexcusable, and that's how the indoctrination has gotten to people, to the point where they'll make any excuse to keep going. It's become so important to them. I'm missing the comments because I went off on that tangent for a while. So yeah, wherever colonizing existed, and there's still schools, I'm sure, in Africa and places in South America where they're underdeveloped still, and they're still doing their same disgusting bullshit. Yeah, the Catholic Church deserves no respect. Thank you, the real Kathy, whoever you are. What crimes? Trump took out the real people and has all the gold that. Oh, took out the real Pope and has all the gold that they were hiding under the Vatican. What? All right, Shane. That sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. Thanks for the follow, Eustache de Montmorency. Eustache de Montmorency. That's a hell of a name, my friend. You're welcome. Thank you, Lazarus Gaming, for bringing it up. I think it was you who pointed out that it was eye-opening. We appreciate that. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Appreciate it. If I miss your name, it's not a slight. I love to give a toot out to all of you. But then I get talking and I miss the names as they go. Ramen, 227.50. Yamanaye. Carry on the TV. JBJ. Bridge 101. I still haven't been explained why I need to name NBA players. Is that a slam on me for not being enough of a sports fan? I was thinking about sports. I like sports. I'm a Boston area guy, and I love sports, but I don't have time for it now. It's life's getting short, and this work is too important. And bringing light to the atrocities done by religion and the backwards thinking that is involved in the maintenance of faith in a sky daddy, drags us all back. There is again, name NBA players. Who cares about the NBA, dude? Father died. I now own contents of a model train store. Really? Reach out to me, man. I can probably use some of that. I'm coming home. Are you coming home? It's coming home. What is? The word theory doesn't fit conspiracy theories. Needs to be tested. Yeah, you're right. Matt in the Hat. Thanks for being here, buddy. What are your thoughts about Muhammad? I did a video and it got me a lot of hate. Muhammad was a guy who wanted to control culture, and he did it for himself. I think Muhammad was brilliant. I think he was. He obviously did something that not a lot of people could do. But he was also a troubled person with bizarre sexual perversions and a warlike megalomaniac. He forced the peninsula to convert to Islam through war. Now we have Muslims, defending him, going, he told people not to kill women during war. And so, all right, so he respected like the rules of war why didn't he just not make war? How about that? How about, can we go there? How about just condemning war? Never mind that he made war in a good way, in an honest way, in a respectable way. He told people not to loot and rape and kill women and children. Come on, give me a break. The Irish potato famine was explicitly approved of by the church as were the Highland clearances. How do you approve a potato famine? I'm not sure, Mike Hill. Can you elaborate on that? I think the potato famine was a natural phenomenon, right? That God sent, right? If you believe in God, He sent the potato famine. This is blight that hit the potatoes, and the crops died. And that's but maybe tell me more if you know more about that. I found out about these schools from the book Code Talkers. It's a Navajo person telling their story. Yeah, Code Talkers pretty famous. I think they made a movie about that, didn't they? Canadian here, thank you for speaking out about the residential schools. The RCC needs to be charged. Yeah, they do, and the government needs to be held accountable too. The Canadian government was complicit. I don't know what you can do. It's not today's government, but they worked in tangent and in tandem, and the government letting churches run that shit and then not checking up on what they were doing is inexcusable. And the government trying to weed out native Indigenous peoples in Canada is offensive on a level that I can barely even think about. That it's so disgusting. It seems American to me. It seems like it's something that the U.S. would do. Like I say, we expect more from Canada, and maybe that's wrong. I woke up with a potato in my pocket this morning. Nice. Is that what that was? I just had the best morning dump. It was breathtaking. I love that, man. Taking a good morning dump, man. What's better than that? The Bible has so many stories as great teaching tools. Hey, dude.
Do you know what a type is?
Huh?
Do you know what a type is?
Yeah, Ding Dong's got it. Took it last night to dump the stuff and never came back. I'm on live here. Sorry, somebody walked in the office. All right, man. I'll see you later. An American teaching us war. Laugh my ass. I'm glad we can finally admit that the Bible is full of stories with no validity. There's a great train museum in St. Paul, Minnesota. Yeah, you know what? I'd like to go to that. Yeah, Muhammad Ali, a great guy, but Nation of Islam is not Islam. It's very different. The American organization known as the Nation of Islam that attracted so many Black Americans in the day, and still does, I guess. I don't, you don't hear much about him anymore. That's different than Islam. We hardly know anything about what the Bible actually says. The original texts have been lost. Yeah, and they every time they translate it, especially in English, I don't know what goes on. Yeah, thanks, man. Someone behind me. Ah! Yeah, I found him. He's my coworker. He didn't know what I was doing here, so he walked on in. Oh crap! There's a story. I spilled my soda. There's a story on Reddit where the evangelicals are censoring the Bible now to suit their needs. Imagine that. The evangelicals are taking all like the slavery talk out of the Bible so people can stop shoving it up their asses when we know that that's obviously what went on in the Bible. We're always going to have the King James Version, which is the only one you really need. Everything after that is just dumbed down English in my book for people who are too stupid to understand the King James language that they use, the English that they use, which is really beautiful, beautiful phrase. I mean, we've got so many phrases from the King James Version of the Bible, like Shakespeare. They changed language. The people who did that, the religious people who worked on the King James Bible, amazing, smart monks. I can't take anything away from them for the work that they did on that, but to pretend that any of that is the Word of God or that it's like original and a perfect translation from the Hebrew and the Aramaic is ridiculous. They all did it to suit their needs, to further their agenda, and now here they are in America doing it again. Evangelical snowflakes censor the Bible. The English Standard Version goes PC. Yeah, so they're taking out all the references to slavery. They're starting to call it like bonds, use words like bond servant and crap like that. So I'm looking around for something to soak this up with. I spilled my friggin' seltzer. It's like China syndrome, right? You remember that? You're old enough to remember China syndrome and the spoof, the Pepsi syndrome, I think, where somebody spilled Pepsi on the nuclear console and like it goes haywire. Saturday Night Live bit. Titanium wrist. Thanks, man. Thanks for the follow, buddy. Do you believe in God? No. Thanks for asking. No evidence for a creator. Amal Najjar, thanks for joining. Phoenix Man, thanks for joining. Love you guys. Yeah, how do people come on a show called The Atheist Underground and ask if I believe in God? Do you not know what atheist means? That being, if the Vatican were destroyed, another crusade would happen. If the Vatican were destroyed, another crusade would happen. I'm not sure what that means. Change parts for continuity, change parts to be factually accurate. Morning, Nana in Virginia. Thanks for being here. Hi, Mooney 30011. Muni. Not to mention, scribes changed the Bible to fit their own interpretation of the text. Of course, I mean they wrote it. They wrote the Bible to suit their own needs. The Hebrew scribes who wrote the Old Testament took older myths that they knew of and wrote them for their culture. This is not really. It's not really a guess. They know that that's what happened. They know Moses didn't write the Old Testament like we used to think, and they basically reworked Mesopotamian myths and other myths to suit their needs and preach to their people. Can you prove there's no God, though? Respectfully, Stephen Law from the University of Oxford in England feels that he can with the evil God hypothesis. But we don't have to prove there's no God. There's no God that interacts. There's no God that makes her will known. There's no God that cares for the people who are suffering on this world. There's no God who provides any kind of justice for the victims of crimes against humanity. Where was God for those babies in Canada? Where was it's a silly thing. I don't need to prove there's no God because there's no God evident. Why would I need to prove that? Why would I need to prove there's no such thing as a 5-headed space monster hiding behind the moon? Every time, we go to look, he scurries around the other side of the moon. It's silliness. And if you can bring yourself to believe that silliness intellectually, then, that's on you. Sorry, buddy. I've got no respect for your mind, but, have a good time with that. Our guy, Angel Ruzak is back. Well, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, there's no good God, and the idea that there might be a good God is demonstrably false. And if you don't believe that, then Professor Stephen Law, philosopher, in Oxford, England, pretty good school, Oxford, uses the evil God hypothesis, where he says, listen, if I said to you, I believe that there's an evil God who wants everything to be evil and wants to destroy good in the world, how would you argue with that? And you would say to him, well, there's too much manifest good in the world. There's too much love. There's too much beauty. And as a philosopher, he says, I think that's a pretty good answer. Well, you can easily take the reverse of that and say, there's too much manifest evil in the world for there to be an omnibenevolent God. So, to him, that's proof enough. It's inexcusable. It's lazy intellectual thinking to believe that there might be an omnibenevolent, omniscient God. None of that stuff adds up. There's too much evil in the world, and there was more evil 200 years ago and more suffering. Maybe not evil, but the children who were born in, say, Chicago in 1840, 1850, when Chicago was founded, had about a 50-50 chance of making it to 5 years old. And now we know that most children who are born survive. Does God like us more today than he did 200 years ago? God destroyed our children on an industrial scale before the advent of modern medicine. So the idea that there's an omnibenevolent God is demonstrably false. If he created all things, he creates evil too. That's true. So he's not omnibenevolent, is he? Read the Bible. Why do people keep pointing to the Bible? And it's an unverified myth source. There's nothing about the Bible. That the Bible is the claim, not the proof. It's silliness. How do you know what we call evil is evil? What is murder? What if murder is just replenishing the dirt? Well, then you're someone who doesn't have any empathy for your fellow human beings. I mean, if it's pretty much the accepted subjective collective morality of societies that to cause harm to another person is evil. So that's nice to be able to say that, but you don't think that the Bible is the claim? You're gonna laugh at me for that? All right, Hyde. The Bible is the claim of God, not the proof. Do you know that anything about the similarities? Hey, I blame Bill. Thanks for joining. Happy Sunday morning. Love you. Do you know anything about the similarities between Jesus' creation story and Horus and Egyptian God? Yeah, I think the actual similarities between Horus and Jesus are a little overplayed, but there are some, and I'm not going to be able to speak really eloquently about it right now. But please go ahead and look at all of that. I believe that his mother was a virgin. I think that he was supposedly born on the solstice, right? And these are the sun gods. The dying and rising sun gods are a common theme throughout history. Jesus was just the latest in a line of dying and rising sun gods. Jesus' birthday was assigned to December 25th for more reasons than just to assimilate pagan cultures and take away their solstice holiday. The sun doesn't visibly rise to ancient cultures until about 3 days after the solstice. So it seems like the sun is dead and maybe it won't come back. It seems to be at that nadir in the sky for 3 days, starting on December 21st. And then on the 25th, after 3 days have passed, ancient astronomers were able, without the instruments that we have today, they were able to see that the sun indeed was going higher in the sky and daylight was longer again. So the metaphor of Jesus dying for 3 days is just a reflection of the sun dying after the winter solstice for 3 days and then starting to rise again visibly to the people. So Jesus is just a sun god, who's the worship of whom it was put in place of the ancient worship of the sun in astro theology. Thomas Paine wrote about that. He wrote almost specifically that. This is not new knowledge. It's lost knowledge. This is wisdom that we have lost, and that evangelicals in America who think that the Bible is a literal truth are too stupid to understand. I was raised Christian. Yeah, I was raised in a mainline Protestant denomination. The mainline Protestants are almost gone. We're talking Congregationalists, First Baptists from the north, Methodists, Episcopalians, thank you, and Presbyterians, denominations like that founded the country, along with the deists who really did the Enlightenment thinking that created our amazing secular government, which has gone into the shitter, thanks to people who aren't smart enough to understand that all of that is just a beautiful metaphor. It's just a gorgeous story. And if there's any comments on YouTube, let me know. Crazy Kelly. I don't know if you're following there, but I am on YouTube. I can see the camera where I switched over to look at Reddit for a second and lost track of the fact that I'm going on YouTube, but my comments aren't up, and I don't really know how to do that. How do you have enough faith to be an atheist? You don't need any faith to be an atheist. You need to be someone with common sense who can look at the evidence. If there's no evidence for something, you don't believe in it. So all this, there's all this talk about atheists being people of faith because you have to have faith that there's no, you don't have to have faith. You have to have the wits about you to simply read the room, man. If there's no evidence for something, it's probably not there. And when evidence comes around, then we'll start looking at it. I'd be the first one to admit if there's actual evidence for God, I'm not going to be like, no, that's not real. That's not real. If there's actual evidence, people will say it. It'll be studied. It'll be recorded. It'll be written, and more people will be able to believe because then it might have some basis in fact. But right now, there's just not. I'm scrolling back here a little bit. When did you start questioning your faith? Right away, when I was 15 or 16, and it became obvious that the God of the Bible is not a loving God, and anyone who would send someone to hell forever for simply using their brains and not believing in the unbelievable is not a good God, and that wouldn't happen. It really took hold when John Lennon was shot, and evangelical preachers came around to my church doing their songs and talking about how John Lennon was in hell after he had literally just talked about peace and love for a decade and donated bulletproof vests to the entire NYPD. To me at that point, not that John Lennon was perfect, he was a hell of a jerk in some ways, I think, but to me at that point as a 16-year-old impressionable, I'm like, there's no way, you guys are full of shit. And this religion, if this is really what you believe in, you guys are dumbasses. And it just went downhill from there. I wish I had the brain capacity to take in all what you're telling. Thank you for that. I don't really think it's all that complicated, but I appreciate you saying that. Look at the way God treated Jonah. I refuse to serve a God like that. Yeah, no, there's a bunch of it. Job, Jonah, Abraham telling him to kill his son. I mean, come on. If there's anyone on here who heard the voice of God tell them to kill their child and they actually would do it, you're either insane for hearing the voice or you're just an asshole. I would tell God, go ahead and send me to hell if that's really, if I really thought I saw God and he told me to kill my kids. No. And if you believe that and you do it, then you've got bigger problems, man. I'm scrolling down. If I missed your message or your question, put it in the question box. How did you come out to your family as atheist? My dad and my mom got divorced when I was 18, and my dad was never, he went along with it for the family, but I don't think he was ever, I think he probably believed in God, and maybe he still does on some, minor agnostic sort of level. But my mom was the one who was, a born again Christian, loved all that shit. As soon as it went retro, she went right with it, right with the program, born againism. Yeah. When we were little, that wasn't even a thing. You never even heard anybody talk about born again. But once the 80s came and Reagan and stuff, it's like born again became this marketing tool. And it's like, oh yes, she loved all that shit and embraced all that. And at some point when I was kind of an arrogant college boy, I just told her it was bullshit. I'm not afraid of, I love my mom and we have a good relationship, but for a couple of years there, it was a little bit tense because I would just tell her, what you believe is childish and simple and stupid, and you need to give it up, man. And I'm never going to believe again. So you can pray all you want for me, but yeah, sorry about that. Do I believe in the Big Bang Theory? It's not something to believe in. It's evidentiary. It is accepted scientific fact, and yes, I accept it because I'm not a cosmologist, and I'm not, as a landscaper and a horticulturist, I'm not qualified to argue with astrophysicists about the Big Bang. The Big Bang is demonstrably true, and until something comes up that might falsify it, then it's what happened. I'll pray for you. Yeah, I'll think for you, buddy. Yeah, Big Bang has the evidence. Evolution has. That's the thing. It's all these things have actual evidence, and if evidence comes up that belies the old evidence, they'll change. That's what science is. What's the best, least, worst Abrahamic religion? Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Judaism is because they've largely given up all of that shit. They're mostly They're mostly, atheists, but that's hard to say because there's still like really, really ridiculously sick cults of Judaism that are Orthodox that do some really heinous things, among which are setting the age of the world that then Christian and Muslim creationists can point to say, Adam was here, and Adam and Adam and Adam. There was no Adam. We know there was no Adam. There was no Eve, and there was no Garden of Eden. We know all this. We know how old the world is, and we know how life evolved on the planet. So the idea that Genesis was literal is stupid beyond words. And if there was no Adam and Eve, there was no original sin, there was no reason for Jesus to die. The whole myth arc falls apart. And I think that's part of the reason that evangelicals grasp on to biblical literalism so much, because they can't take any of it as metaphor, because if that really didn't happen, then Jesus had no reason to die for us. I'm 57, Dihaladris, thank you for asking. Yes, snakes don't talk. We do know that. Okay, what created the matter that caused the Big Bang? We don't know. You're right with that. We don't know. The Big Bang likely existed forever, just like you think God did. If you can conceive of an eternal God, you can conceive of an eternal universe. Space and time were created at the Big Bang. So to talk about what was before it is a nonsensical issue. It's like looking for what's north of the North Pole. It doesn't make sense. So there's no way we can really address it. But they're trying. I mean, quantum theory and all that kind of crap. They're trying to figure it out, and that's what science does. So if you're a janitor or a teacher or a nurse or a bus driver, your opinion on the origin of the universe is moot. It doesn't mean anything to me. No, an eternal God and eternal views. Yeah, you keep believing it. Thanks. Good for you. I have a master's in physics. Thank you. The Big Bang is based on faith. Okay. I think that you probably ought to go back to school if you think that the Big Bang is based on faith. I just finished an interview with an astronomer who explains how the model of, and I'm bad at explaining it myself, but the model for the experiments that they did to verify the background radiation, the cosmic background radiation, the math fit the hypothesis better than any evidence that has ever been come up with for anything. It's absolutely perfect. So you can be a religion if you want to. That's your right. I'm not. Fun fact: the Big Bang is actually in the Quran. I love that when they do that. That stuff is also dumb. They also talk about the expanding universe in the Bible, which the Quran is stolen from. Muhammad was very familiar with Christian and Jewish teachings. Cam Comforts is back. Why is the southern U.S. more religious? I'm not really sure that they are. It seems that way, and maybe they are a little bit. But go to North Dakota sometime. Go to South Dakota. Go to Idaho. Go to it's 50 fucking states, and they're all the South. Unless you're in New York City, Boston, Portland, San Francisco, every state is rife with religious nutbags. I think the South maybe has like a band of states that are really, really loudly fundamental and have given us people like Billy Graham and other televangelists who seem to be. I don't know. I wish I could answer that question. But the South has been backwards since the Civil War. I mean, why are there more Confederate flags in the South? That's treason. Why are you flying a Confederate flag? You lost the war. To fly the flag of another country, which the Confederate States of America were, is treason. So why are you going to do that? I think a lot of those states just suffer from poor economic situations where it's reflected in the education system. People are a little bit more desperate in life, so they go to that corner church and they want to have a better future in heaven, and so they cling on out of desperation to the old myths. But if anyone can tell me why the southern states are more religious, then please do. Jesus was probably real. I don't really weigh in too much on that because it's a moot point to an atheist. He wasn't God, so if he was real or not, it doesn't really matter. But it's 50-50 to me on that. There's no evidence that he was real except for writings after the fact, which is, there's so much of it that that's taken as pretty decent evidence by the people who study it, like Bart Ehrman. People are like, yeah, Bart Ehrman's an atheist, but he believes Jesus was real. Well, maybe he was, but his myth has absolutely been, inflated over the years. That's for sure. It's a battle flag. Yeah, it is. London shows up in Harry Potter. Yeah, not God, but the son of an angel. Okay, Jesus was like Paul Bunyan or Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris would have crushed Jesus, right, in a fight. And Paul Bunyan, my favorite, maybe one of my favorite American legends. What are your thoughts on Wicca and witchcraft? Yeah, the supernatural aspects are bullshit, and I don't give any credence to any of that stuff. But I like the people that are involved in that, or at least I like that it's tied to nature. I think, as a religion, that shit makes so much more sense than the weird guilt and fear-driven Abrahamic faiths that are based on a God creating himself by coming to earth and knocking up a virgin and giving birth to his only son, who's himself, who's also divine, but they had to argue about whether he was divine or not, sending him to die on a cross and then worshiping the cross that he died. I mean, it's just also creepy and morbid and dumb. Moderate believer culpability for extreme acts. Yeah, if people aren't speaking up against extreme acts in their religion, then they're part of the problem, not part of the solution. Yeah, it's not guilt driven. Okay, but to the person who said, if the places are real, why isn't the book real? Have you heard of New York? There's no miracles or supernatural, only unexplained science. Yeah, I tend to fall in that category. There are definitely no miracles. I mean, Cicero, I think it was Cicero, articulated that a long time ago. Miracles are something which can't happen. So when something happens, it happened because it could happen. So it can't be a miracle. What atheist extremists? I don't know. I know there's no atheists going around planting bombs in shadows. I know that. I guess I'm an atheist extremist because I'm so upset with the state of humanity because of religion that I want to be an atheist activist. I want to make community for atheists and secular people who are shunned by their families and feel like outcasts in society. I want atheists and secular people to be represented in government at a rate which reflects our numbers in the population, just like Black people should, just like women should, just like Muslims should, just like anybody who is an American in the U.S. should be represented at the government level at a rate that reflects their percentage of the population. And right now we have a ton of Christians and too many Jews in government. There are over too many, old white Christian men and too many Jewish people who are overrepresented in government, and it needs to balance out. We need women, we need minority religions, we need atheists, we need the government to really reflect the populace, and right now it doesn't. Yeah, we need more atheists in government, or people who understand that church and state need to be separate. I don't care if you're a religious person in government, but when you go to work, you leave that shit at home and you do the civic duty that you were elected to do, and that doesn't have anything to do with religion. And it just doesn't. I've never observed a macro evolution. Why can't we start up a 1,000-year experiment to test it? You haven't. I think that the new breeds of dogs that they're doing, if you got a cockapoo or a Chiweenie, if you got one of these new dogs, and then you're watching evolution. This is natural. Artificial selection is evolution with us at the control. So, I mean, the reason it was discovered and articulated by Darwin is because he could see it on the Galapagos Islands. He could see differentiation between the islands and between the famous finches, I want to say, right, that he studied. So if you really look, but I like that idea. Maybe we can start a 1,000-year experiment. We do need a revolution. Wikipedia is the worst source to use for anything, but you cannot get elected if you aren't. What to do? You can get elected if you aren't. People don't trust that you can get elected if you aren't. We need people of charisma, people who run on their platform, people who run on the issues, to just do that and stop pandering to Christians. I firmly believe that we can immediately get more secular people in office if they would just come out and let go of the false notion that they need to pander to the Christians. The Christian demographic is dying away. It's going away. And not because we're outlawing Christianity or we're making it illegal to be, we're trying to burn all the Bibles. It's because it sucks. And people are leaving it because it sucks. and it's letting people down, and they see the hate and bigotry behind it, and the new generations don't want anything to do with it. So if any of us live long enough to see the generation, I mean, imagine millennials are barely religious. Gen Z coming after them is going to be less religious. Imagine the kids that are coming up after that. I just had a grandson born the other day. Another atheist in the world, my friends. Here's to my atheist grandson. And until somebody indoctrinates him to religion, he will remain an atheist. And sooner or later, the demographic will swing. Evangelicals are only like 16-70% of the country. And the rest of the Christians, you can add the nutball Catholics who are really hardcore to that demographic, because they'll vote the same way because they hate abortion so bad. Why do they hate abortion? They're afraid they're going to run out of kids to torture and murder. That's why they hate abortion. They need to continue to make babies that they can then torture and kill. But if we get together as a non-religious demographic, or include minority religions in that, Satanists and pagans and all those people, if we can just vote together on that issue and forget about the other shit for a while, all that stuff will go away. Believe me, we can have politicians that aren't pretending to be Christian. Yeah, prophecy in the Bible. Give me a break. A dog growing wings would show evolution to be false. What? Yeah, I guess so. Thank you. Congratulations on the grandbaby. Thank you. Another boy band. Appreciate it. Deranged Danny, believe what, man? And that's maybe an appropriate name if you believe in Jesus. Cam comforts, the founding fathers did not intend it to be a Christian country. No, they intended it to be a successful country. And in order to do that, they needed to make a constitution that 13 religious colonies would ratify. And the way that they did that was to tell those colonies that the new federal government that was coming wouldn't favor any of those 13 different Protestant sects. So while they didn't mean it to be a Christian country, they didn't not mean it to be a Christian country, because they knew that it was largely a country of Christian population. They didn't care about that because they were beyond. They were too educated to be fundamentalist Christians. They were deists, and they were post-Enlightenment scholars. All of those people, Madison and Jefferson and Franklin, and all those people were the richest sons of the richest people in the colonies, and they all had educations that most people today cannot even compare with. Most people, not all people, obviously, but most people today do not get an education that was anywhere near as good as that which Thomas Jefferson received. Believe it. And none of those people cared about Christianity per se. They wanted the country to succeed. They needed a constitution. They needed to convince 13 religious colonies that the federal government wouldn't favor one of those colonies over the other. So they put in the separation of church and state. There's no other way to spin that today but to accept the plurality that we have in society with Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, pagans, Wiccans, atheists. Everybody has to fall under that same aegis. But it wasn't a part of their world. They could never have conceived of the amount of different religions that there are here today. Back then, there was a few Jews in New York, a few Catholics in Maryland, and the rest of the people were wacky Protestants, Puritans, who each had a different interpretation of Protestantism. I am the atheist grandpa. Thanks, Matt in the Hat. Throat punch for you coming. No one calls me grandpa except my grandson. Love you, but disagree about that. They think sentience happens at conception. Who said that they didn't? I don't really know enough about that. My username has nothing to do with my relationship with God. Oh, okay. Really? If that were true, my sock drawer is full of sentient beings. I get it. You need to do the wash, though, buddy. The Bible oppresses women. Yeah, of course it does. The whole idea is patriarchal. Why is God a man? And people get really upset now when you say that God is a man, and it didn't used to be like that. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm not trying to ignore you. I don't see the comments. I don't know what's wrong with my screen, but there are some people on YouTube, and I love you. I love you all for joining. Each person that God loves has a different relationship with God. Jesus Christ. What was I talking about? I forget. Yeah, freedom from religion does mean freedom from religion, my friend. It really does. Show us your shirt. Oh, praise the Lord. It's praise the Lord shirt, and it's really just a barbecue shirt. It doesn't really have anything to do with atheism. I should mirror here. Let's see. I keep forgetting to do this. There we go. Now I'm the right way around. See, praise the Lord. And I got it at Midwood Smokehouse in North Carolina. where I go because I have family there, and then every time I go, I'm reminded of how ridiculously religious the Carolinas are. But yeah, this is just literally bought it at a barbecue joint and just loved it, and figured it would go along with my atheism. But it's not any kind of atheist meme. It's just a barbecue joint T-shirt. um, Religion is man-made and it's used to control the weak-minded. Yeah, Zeki Zwag, you got it, man. You have figured it out. How do y'all just ignore people's testimonies? I don't get it. God healed me from so many things. No, he didn't. You can give credit to God if you want. You can think God healed you, but you either healed yourself through your actions, and one of those actions may have been faith. Religion, personal religion at its best is self-help, and you can use other self-help techniques. But if believing in Jesus got you over rampant alcoholism and beating your wife, then more power to you and Jesus. But that doesn't mean that Jesus is real. That means the technique you used is real. God hasn't done anything. He hasn't healed anybody ever from anything. The reason that I'm here at 57 is because of science and technology, not because God allowed me to live an old life. Most people died, but way before 50, before the advent of modern medicine. That's just a fact. And most of our 5 out of 7 of our babies died until we started figuring out how to change that ourselves. Nothing irks me more than people who are like, go to the hospital, get a triple bypass, and then say, thank God. Jesus, what if I was a surgeon? I'd be like, you know what? I'm taking them fucking pig valves back, you dick. Yeah, why didn't he heal everybody? What about the people he didn't heal? No. That's nice for you. If you like, it's a romantic notion. If you like that thought, then yeah, you go for it. But don't bring it to my kids, and keep it out of the government. Period. I'm in the NC and crazy on religion here. Yeah, Brewmore, man. Yeah, it is. It's crazy on religion in North Carolina. Luckily, I go to Charlotte, which is a big city, and there's plenty of liberal people there. Liberal religious thinkers. I don't mean politically liberal necessarily. Yeah, Norse mythology has proved that Asgard exists and Valhalla. Can't wait to go there. A lot of more hot babes in Valhalla than are in heaven. Turn to chicken nuggets. What? Funniest internet videos says, in all caps, turn to chicken nuggets. Does that mean I should turn into chicken nuggets like Lot's wife turned into salt? Yeah, Tim Minchin is awesome. Fuck the Pope. Everybody loved that song. Yeah, no, Tim Minchin is great. And I haven't seen much from Tim. What's he doing these days? Religion came around to stop people's fear of their inevitable death. That's one of the things. Religion came around because people didn't know where the sun went in the winter, and they were hoping it would come back. Religion came around because people wanted to see their dead relatives again. Religion came around because life is miserable, and people wanted to have faith that there would be a better life after this one, and because life was brutish and short and hard and ugly for most of human history. Religion came around because the guy who was the head of the tribe and was the best fighter and the best hunter and was the leader of the tribe in caveman times might have had a heart condition, and so he's up on the rock and he's telling the people how great he is, and he's telling people that he won the latest tribal battle with the neighboring Neanderthals, and he killed an ox or a deer or an antelope that was going to feed everybody tonight. He's bragging on himself, and he has a heart attack and drops dead. Well, the only explanation for that to early people was there's something else out there more powerful than us, which there is. Heart disease was more powerful than this asshole that I'm making up. But people they understood that although humans were the dominant species on the planet, we still weren't in control of our own destinies, and we were still mortal. So the natural thing to think was that there was someone out there going, you know what, this guy's too big for his britches. I'm gonna kill him with a heart attack right now. The whole God concept makes sense as an evolutionary process. There's no way that we ever could have got around it. But in my mind, if humans had become sentient yesterday and today they learned everything that we know about science today, they never would have made up a God concept. It would have seemed infantile to them, like it seems infantile to those of us who actually pay attention today. The Pope is evil anyway, even to many Christians. Yeah, fuck the new Pope. Yeah, he's no better than the old ones. Do I believe faith is real? Of course. I have faith in humanity. I have faith that what we've learned about the science and the universe is either true or will be corrected when it's found false. I have faith in a lot of things. I have faith that the sun's going to come up for another 4.8 billion years. I mean, I have faith that people are more good than evil. Maybe that's naive, but I think it's been shown as we progress as societies, as modern societies, that we treat people better and we treat each other better. So yeah, Do I believe in faith? Faith, of course. Faith is a real human thing. I encourage y'all to look up David Lynn debates with atheists. Yeah, okay. Debates bore the fuck out of me. And then, again, people want me to debate them all the time, Christians, and I'm like, you know what? I don't do that. And Apostate Aladdin articulated why very well. I'm like, I don't like debates. I don't think they're interesting. I've never been trained in debate, and I don't want to argue with someone who's never going to change their mind, just like I'm never going to change their mind. The idea of debate is to win, is to convince the other party or the audience with your logic and you can't do that. You can't debate someone who has no basis in logical thinking. So I don't debate religions. I just don't. So do you think religion and church, was there a way of control of monetary? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That, smart people can see that you can lead weak-minded people with religion and you can get money that way. So yeah, all of that's obvious. What do you think about the Muslims in camps? Talking about China, the Uyghurs, it's horrible. I don't hate Muslims. I love people. I love everybody. I want everybody to be smarter. I want people to grow emotionally and intellectually. And what's going on in China with the Uyghurs is disgusting. In China, it's too bad that they've become so powerful, because they're an authoritarian state who, smacks down human rights whenever they can, and it's awful. So do you believe me? It's real. Answer the question. God loves you. Thanks, buddy. Facts. Yet you're debating right now. Well, no, because I'm not listening to someone else, stand next to me. And people want to go like a dual live so we can hear their bullshit reasons. I saw Jesus one night, or something can't come from nothing. That old chestnut. Yeah, great, buddy. Read a science book. Just look at modern physics videos. They're on YouTube for you, man. These are just people who want to believe so bad they'll do anything to try to justify how it might be real, and when they should just have faith and let it go. When you try to prove your faith is real through twisting the facts, that just shows me that your faith is not strong. You have cognitive dissonance that you're trying to get over for yourself. You're trying to justify the unjustifiable by twisting the facts to fit your preconceived conclusion. So yeah, we do. Thanks, Brewmore, man. We need to stop having faith, religious. It's dragging humanity backwards. It really is. There's my guy, Kevin. Thanks, man. I didn't see you here. I saw Jesus Christ in a bowl of oatmeal in 2002. Was he tasty? Did he have raisins for eyes? Was he sweet? Did you put a lot of maple syrup on Jesus? Jesus only appears on toast, and you know it. Yeah. The old Jesus toast. Somebody made a thing where you can make the Jesus toast. It's like a little press that burns Jesus or Mary into the toast, man. I wanted to get one of those, and I never did. So if anyone sees that, send it to me. Religious faith is evil. Yeah, religions are evil. If you have faith, and it's personal and it helps you, I'm not going to go there. I love everybody, and if you need faith to get you through the night, I'm not trying to take that away from you. I'm trying to educate society to the point where people don't need that anymore. And it goes away on its own. Tasted like cinnamon. Nice. Maybe Jesus' cross was made out of a cinnamon tree, and some of it kind of transferred to his skin that went in your oatmeal. Cinnamon, the bark of a tree. Did you know that? There's some trivia for you. Atheist Sanctuary. I didn't see you, baby. Atheist, my mama bear. I am here to admire you. Thank you. I admire you and your beautiful bald head, baby, and what you've done coming out of the J-Dubs. Really fabulous. If you don't follow Atheist Sanctuary, go follow them. They are like 1 year out of J-Dubs and have like recreated their life in a way that we should all be proud of. Do you think Socrates existed, or was he created? Yeah, I think it's pretty well verified, cross-referenced, that Socrates existed. I'm not an expert, though. Do you like Jimmy Snow? I don't know what Jimmy Snow is. What's Jimmy Snow? Scientists are testing if immorality is possible. Are they? Aliyah Dalal. 694. Were you named after Aliyah? Tragic story. She just got rid of one piece of luggage. She'd still be alive. How did you come out to your family's atheist? I answered that. I just told them that their faith was dumb and I didn't need it anymore. Hello from Tennessee, friends of the TST, the Satanic Temple. What's up in Tennessee, man? Tennessee crazy, man. The Free Will Baptist Church on every damn corner and curve in the country in Tennessee. You got a trailer on one side, you got a church on the other. You got a shack on one side, you got a trailer on the other. You got some woods on one side, you got church on the other. But yeah, Tennessee, whoo, awfully religious there, my friend. Do you believe in Greek mythology? Yeah, that's a good question for Gaius Dwank. You don't believe in those other gods, but you believe in yours, right? If we are wrong, we won't know. It's lights out. Yeah, that's right. We won't know. No one's gonna know. Believing in a 15-year-old book, 1500-year-old book, rather than a modern day science book is crazy. Yeah, I think it's a little bit older than 1500 years, don't you? It's more like 1800 now. I think the Bible was finally cobbled together at least 200 years after Jesus shit the bed, and yeah, to pretend it's the word of God when we know that like Greeks and Romans put it together to further their agenda for the early church. Anybody can look at that and see that it's made up by men, by white Western men for the most part, or Near Eastern, I guess you would say, people. No real women involved there, and hence the patriarchy. Just a way to control society. I believe the stories exist now that it actually happened. Yeah, well, the stories definitely exist. Hey Rob, did you ever do any research on theosophy? I looked it up really briefly for a video that someone asked about. And theosophy is one of those fringe cults that believe that there's like alien life involved. Am I wrong about that? I don't really remember there was only a blurb I could find on theosophy. Statements with intent to open for refute. It's not the nature of his claim. Ghost Mama 6 joined. Thanks for joining. And I appreciate everybody for being here. If I missed you going by, I'm sorry. I don't mean to slight anybody with the whistle. I love to give a whistle out to everybody who I possibly can. Miggity Mike, AA Versa, Surrey Blue Dot joined. If you have a question, put it in the dialog box at the bottom of the page. There's a question mark in a dialog box, and that'll put your question on a list so it'll stay there, and I can look at it. It's a limited character thing, so you got to be succinct, and please don't put 10 in a row. It's hard to keep up. Wisdom O fold, but that's a way if you really have a question that you want answered for me to actually see it instead of it going by on the scroll. But I try to keep up with the scroll, but they're just going too fast. Buddy rocks. Vasto 76. Kevin Rubik's is back. Thanks, man. Hail Satan. Yes, indeed. I'm scrolling up through the comments now. Producer Jay not with me today. We normally do the Sunday flipped around where he's looking at the questions and asking and prompting me, and I can lean back a little bit without my glasses on. But he's not here, and sadly, it was because his mom hit the emergency room last night. So our thoughts are with producer Jay, and we hope everything's all right with his mom. And medical science, her best chance of getting through whatever is going on with her. Thank you for speaking on this important topic. You're welcome. Thank you. How do you think the first humans were created? They weren't created. They evolved from simpler life forms over billions and billions of years. And I get that that's difficult to get your head around, but that's where the evidence leads us to know. And scientists understand. They know how life was created on Earth. They're not even really studying that anymore. It's the question that doesn't need to be answered anymore. We know that. They're looking for other things now. They're looking for the multiverse, and they're looking to explain what happened at the singularity of the Big Bang. They're looking to explain the nature of all of that, and maybe they'll never find it, and I'm okay with that, but for people to think that like the first humans were created and dropped here, there's just no evidence for that. That's pure religion. That's pure belief, faith, speculation, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing at all to lead anyone to believe that might possibly be true scientifically. So if you want to believe that because you can't get your head around the science, or you simply were indoctrinated to the belief that humans were created perfectly formed and dropped here, that's up to you. You have to leave it out of school because it's not the truth. It's not fact. You have to leave it out of government because it doesn't have anything to do with civic issues. But if that what gets you to sleep at night, then more power to you. I will fight for your right to fool yourself that way. I will fight for your right to have any religion you want to. You just got to keep it away from my kids, my friend. and my government. I was forced to Sunday school. Yeah, I mean, who's not forced to Sunday school? In general, church sucks. It's not fun. And Sunday school becomes ridiculous to the thinking person, as soon as you get to an age where you can question it. So, you have to be forced to go to Sunday school by your parents, or else no one would go. No one would go. You'd sleep in and watch cartoons. Hi from New York. Use a lot of numbers. What's up? How do you think the first simple life forms were? Yeah, so I think you ran out of characters. We know this, and I've been over with it. Somebody asks on every live. It's called cyanosulfidic chemistry, and you can look up the branch of science your own self. Cyano, like cyanide, cyanosulfidic, like sulfur, chemistry. Early chemicals that exist in abundance in the universe existed on early Earth, combined over billions of years to form more complex chemicals that eventually formed the building blocks of life, like amino acids and simple proteins. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not a scientist. It's not my effort. It's not what I do. But I don't argue with people who have studied it and understand. I read what they know, and then if there's other information that maybe contradicts it, I read that, and you weigh and you balance it. All this stuff is peer reviewed, and people they run it through the ringer. So we know this, just like we know dinosaurs existed. We have fossil record of early human forms. We have fossil records of other species that predated ours, and we know that humans evolved along a separate line from a common primate ancestor as modern great apes. We are just a great ape. We are one of the animals on the planet. There's no further meaning to life other than us to procreate, make sure that our species survives. And if you need to ascribe meaning to your life, as most of us do, because we have an evolved brain where we'd go crazy if we didn't, then you go ahead and do that. And if you are intellectually satisfied with the answer of well, there's just a creator out there and God did it and he wants us to go to him, and if none of the other contradictions and your cognition isn't great enough to get you over that, then more power to you, man. I had to attend a chapel service every day in boarding school. Yeah, so did I. And I went to a really good boarding school in Connecticut, the kind of prep schools that people make fun of, like Choate and Rosemary and Hall and places like Andover and places like that are famous. I went to a smaller one in Connecticut, the home of prep schools. And we went to chapel. And I sat in chapel next to the tons of Jewish kids whose rich parents sent them there from New York and Philadelphia. It was just tradition. The school had nothing to do with religion anymore. The Episcopalian pastor that led the chapel services did it in the most benign, non-denominational way that he could. And nobody came out with a stronger belief in God just because we had to go to chapel in high school. How did they get away with putting God on our money in our national anthem? They just did it. It was, they used the people's fear against them, the fear of communism, the fear of a godless society against them, and got it pushed through. And that was the beginning, in my mind, of the resurgence of Christianity in our public life and in our government. Pretty sure that like most of the early presidents gave a fuck about religion. A lot of them were generals. A lot of them were warmongering sinners that barely ever went to church. You think Andrew Jackson was a good Christian? I mean, give me a break. These people weren't. None of those people paid lip service to Christianity like modern politicians do, because that's the state of television and the media and social media today. Is everybody scrutinizes, and every last Puritan on the plains is able to see the pious Christian politician. It didn't matter to people back in the day. They actually voted on the issues. They were worried about surviving on the frontier, not converting their neighbor to your unsustainable mythology. So, I'm pretty sure we've had numerous atheistic presidents. Abraham Lincoln was a famous agnostic. Can't call him an atheist, but he was an agnostic in the sense that he didn't know. He waffled on belief in God. He knew he wasn't a Christian, and he said so. People who think that every president's been Christian, stupidity. They haven't been, and it's a modern, since the 50s. Get back to the point when they put God on the money, and when they put God in the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance. That and Billy Graham came around, and TV came around. That was the beginning of this resurgence of Christianity, evangelical style, in public American life. But in philosophy, and I think mathematics are logical truths. Maybe. The thing about philosophy is that no one, that's why there's a million different philosophies. No one, it's just like religion. That's why it's in the religion department, or religion's in the philosophy department of universities. It's not based. It might be based in logical arguments, but it's not based in fact. It's not based in evidence. It's everybody can have their own philosophy, and you can argue it through logic as much as you want, but nobody ever is going to accept one person's philosophy. So, the logic that you use to prove your philosophy is just, it's debate tactic. It's esotericism. It's not concrete evidence. It's nothing. Otherwise, there would only be one philosophy. Just like if a religion were true, there would only be one religion. The fact that no scientists, no cosmologists think that a God created the Big Bang today, none or prominent. There's probably some off in a community college in Kentucky somewhere who do. But the fact is that cutting edge scientists of cosmology and quantum theory don't believe that God started it. They will tell you that. And if they did, if there were any truth to the whole, Kalam's cosmological, then all of those scientists would believe that. The fact that they don't is very telling to me. Any book recommendations? Yeah, I highly recommend The Founding Myth by Andrew Seidel. He's one of the genius constitutional lawyers at FFRF, and he wrote a book called The Founding Myth, Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American. Read it. It'll tell you how to argue with people who are Christian nationalists, and it will explain how the country was not founded on Christianity. So that's one. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the roses. Thanks for the Freckle Warrior. Hello, fellow atheists. Hello, my friend. The Freckle Warrior. I put it backwards. Yay, atheism. Yeah, man. And I hear from people that it's freeing. I've been an atheist so long that I don't remember. Some modern presidents were definitely Christian just for image. Yeah, absolutely. Clinton comes to mind. Obama comes to mind. I think a lot of presidents just paid lip service to that to get elected, and that needs to end. When people stop doing that, that shit'll go away, and we'll have some atheists in office. Have you ever met with Richard Dawkins? No, and I'm probably not gonna. He's an old fucker now. I've met a lot of people in this business. All right, I've met a lot of the top atheists out there, but not those 2 or 3 big ones. Never met Sam Harris. He's hard to get to. He's too big. Talk to my people, and then you don't hear back. But I've not met Richard Dawkins, but I have met and worked with Robin Blumner, I want to say is her name, who runs the Center for Scientific Inquiry. That forgive me if I'm missing the name there. She runs his organization that he started. So I'm one degree removed from Richard Dawkins, from Big Dick. We call him the Big Dick of atheism. Big Dick Dawkins, Little Dick of Atheism, Richard Carrier, and read his works if you haven't. If you're interested in Christ mythicism and you want answers on whether you think Christ was real or not, read that book. There are scholars, and very, very, very intelligent scholars, who don't think Jesus ever existed, and the ones who do think he existed can't really prove it. So there's been debates on that. Guarantee some Kentucky and Tennessee preachers give God credit for the Big Bang. Of course I do. I mean, that's how we grew up, because we didn't deny science. My church didn't deny science in any way, and we knew Genesis was a metaphor. Nobody told me that Genesis was the literal truth. My church was a progressive, mainline Protestant denomination. You're a common sense person. You don't deny what we know just for the sake of your unsustainable faith. You mold it into your faith. So we all grew up assuming that there was a God, and they must have started the Big Bang, or they were behind evolution, because those parts were proven true. We know how old the Earth is. It's not for you to say it's not. You just sound dumb when you do that, because we know the difference. Accept science, and maybe your religion can survive. If you don't, you're all just going to look silly one day, and you're going to look like lunatics in the corner, as a huge minority in society, when the rest of us understand the secrets of the universe. Conclusions using your argument with somebody. Hello, Keisha. What's up, baby? I'm running for president in 2024. The power of the hat. Go, Matt. You got my vote, buddy. If I was younger, I might go into politics and look at that, and maybe I will still on the local level. There's a real effort afoot by Christian nationalists to put people in school boards, and that needs to end now. If you have any kids in school still, go run for the school board, or they will try to teach your kids Christianity. It's happening everywhere, except in the most progressive districts in the country. They know that they're dying, and they need to keep kids indoctrinated. Otherwise, they know that their religion will go away. And so they're trying to put people on school boards who will twist the curriculum to teach Christianity and to respin the founding of this country as a Christian nation when we know it wasn't. The name of the book is The Founding Myth: Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American. It's also unchristian. Christian nationalism is unchristian, and he explains all that in the book. It's a great book. Yeah, even if Jesus existed, it wouldn't matter because he's not God. That's my point. It's a moot point to an atheist. And sometimes it's interesting to talk about. I came up with a group of mythicists from Milwaukee. That's what they were into, and they were the most visible atheist activists that I could find. All the other atheists I could find wanted to sit in the dark corner with no windows and kind of grouse about Christians, but not do anything about it. And I wanted to be out there doing events, doing conventions, meeting people, interviewing people, promoting the secular agenda. And these were the guys who were on board with me to do that. And their real thing was proving Christ never existed. They've since let that go and changed their whole scope of what they do. And I don't need to get into that, but we broke up because they didn't care about the secular movement anymore. And that's really, I'm in this for secular people and the worldwide secular movement. That's all Christian scholars do. Like when someone asked his favorite scripture and he couldn't name a single verse. Who's that? Oh yeah, Trump. Oh yeah, what a putz. Yeah, he doesn't care. He made comments in the past that lead you to believe he's an atheist. Man, sorry, there's a lot of new comments. When you scroll back, it doesn't let you. It stays where you scrolled it, and then all of a sudden there's a zillion new comments. God may be real, but definitely not any God from these religions. Well, if God really doesn't give a shit about what's going on here, he doesn't care about humanity, he doesn't care about the earth, and if he's real and he's really in charge of this universe, he's got bigger problems, right? And again, it's just silliness. Where there's the population of humanity has gotten so out of control. Are we expected to believe that there's just souls waiting somewhere for all of these people, and that God is constantly just keeping up with the new billions of people and every last person who's born? He knows and cares about it. It's an unsustainable myth. It's a silliness. It's not to be entertained by the logical mind. The name of the book again, in all caps, The Founding Myth. The Founding Myth. So I write it on my forehead so you can read it. There you go. The Founding Myth. Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. It's Big Bang is a lie. You're a lie. You can't tell me what was before space-time. It was God, because there was no before space-time. Don't you get it? I know you don't. It's not, and I don't really get it. But I don't have to make up a God of the gaps. There was nothing before space-time. We can't measure it because space-time didn't exist before the Big Bang. The math breaks. What you're talking about is a nonsensical sentence. There was no before, because that implies time, and there was no time as we know it before the Big Bang. So the nature of whatever that was, or if it was, is unknown to us and unmeasurable by our small human brains at this point. So if you want to think that there was God before that, then good for you. You get yourself around those. Like, what did he do for eternity? Right? Play with his big dick. What did he do? What you're talking about is nonsensical. It's a goose chase. It's like trying to ask what's north of the North Pole, or trying to find the corner of a round Earth. It's a nonsensical question. And I know that that's unsatisfying. Believe me, I know, because I want to know too, and I can't wait till science uncovers another fact. There's more evidence. But right now, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. Thanks, Kevin. I try, man. I try. Two sides of the same blade. God of the Gaps. God of the Gaps would be a good band name, dude. Let's start that. I can sing a little. Instruments always failed me, though. I failed instruments. I never had the patience or the talent. I'm more than willing to embrace the talents that I have, but musical instruments were never one of them. And to my continued chagrin, I would love to be one of those guys who can just pick up an instrument and fire away on it, or one of those girls who understands music theory and how music works, and just never got it. What's worse to you, Christianity or Islam? That's an ambiguous question. What's worse in my mind, Christianity or Islam, or what treats me worse, Christianity or Islam? That's two different questions. I think Islam is measurably worse in terms of the actual violence that comes out of it, but that's again, seen from the perspective of a Westerner who sees terrorism come here and gets Western news that focuses on Islamic fundamentalists. And I know there's millions and millions and millions of good Muslims out there who aren't interested in fundamentalism, who aren't interested in terrorism, who aren't interested in bigotry and hate, and who are just trying to live their lives and get along and raise their families. And Christianity is worse to me because it treats me worse, because I'm in America. I'm in the U.S., excuse me, and we're the most hated minority. We're more hated than Muslims. We're more hated than Jews. We're more hated than gay folk. We're more hated than anybody. Atheists are the most hated minority in the U.S., and my atheist people are continually oppressed by their employers. We get stories all the time of people who were discovered to be atheists and were somehow fired for another reason the next day, or not even for another reason, just flat out told, if you don't believe in Jesus, you don't belong here, and see you later. We get people who are shunned by their families, but Christians tend to try to convert you back, whereas Muslims tend to cut your head off. That's the best way I can explain that. I'm an hour from one of the four corners of Earth, man. Go take a pic, dude. Instagram that bitch. I would love to see that. SD James, love you, man. What did God do? What did this guy do for 13 billion years? Yeah, he put cyanosulfidic chemicals together and made amino acids, and apparently that kept him entertained for 13 billion years. I don't know. Pay attention to the other planets out there. The universe is so big. There's other M-class planets, to quote Star Trek. So maybe he did that. No, it's stupidity. What did he do? Play pool with asteroids? Thanks for the follow, Grim Book. Jack Dawson, thanks, man, for joining. Barfac, Kian Klukler, George Willette. There's a French name, my friend. I knew a Willette growing up. I grew up in New England, so we had a lot of French Canadians around. Open your Bibles today. If you don't have one, get the app. I got to open a Bible right now. I got one. I'm not a putz. I got a Bible. I got a Quran. There's a lot of funny shit in there to read. And once in a while, I open it up and pull out a verse just to remind myself how insane it is. I'm a lifelong atheist, and I agree that we are persecuted, but I don't believe we're the most persecuted. We're the most hated. We don't suffer hate crimes on the level of gay people and transgender people, but we are the most hated when the polls come out. And a lot of that is because we don't have that solidarity. You can go find gay people easily at their pride parades or at their bars. There's not an atheist bar down the road where you can go beat up atheists. If there were, you can fucking believe it would happen. And if atheists started really getting together and starting to force Christianity out of the government, there'd be a civil war. So a lot of that, we are the most hated. We're not the most persecuted, but we could be if we were as visible as black people, or if we were as visible as gay people. I was founder of AAI, Atheists and Agnostics at Intel Corp. Wow, nice, Randy. Good deal, Randy Fitz. Good for you. Is that like an atheist like a club at a corporation? I thought the Old Testament was hilarious. So many sacrifices. Yeah, real hilarious, man. It's real funny shit, man. When God drowns everybody on the planet, babies and animals and everything. Yeah, that's you got a sick sense of humor, my friend. But I get you. Atheist has no base to which they can stand on, except all the evidence that's ever been. Yeah, good comment. Jesus is king. King of what? Something can't be created from nothing. That's a big lie. Yeah, there was never nothing. What you're saying doesn't even make sense, because there was never nothing in the way that you conceive it. So those arguments don't hold any water with cosmologists. None at all. I thought the Old Testament. Have you found any flaws within the Quran? Yeah, I found a ton of flaws. First of all, he speaks of Adam as a real person. We know that that's not true, so there's a flaw right there. That's easy. I'm only in Surah 3. I don't have a lot of time to read, but I really want to get through it, and You know, somebody will probably explain it to me, but there's, you know, it looks to me like when he prescribes the fasting, in one verse he says start fasting as soon as you can see the moon, which would imply night. But then in another verse he says start fasting when you can discern a black thread from a white thread, which would mean daytime, which is what it's about. You fast during the day. You fast during daylight hours during Ramadan, which is not fasting. Yeah, that's just bullshit right there. What a cop out. If you're gonna fast, then fucking fast all day for some days. Ask them who made God. If God, yeah, well, that's, you know, they don't. That's special pleading. They don't. God was, you know, God didn't need a creator because he didn't have a beginning, but everything else did, right? But there's no evidence that God exists, so it's not even a thing. So it didn't have a beginning. Yeah, they usually say that God is eternal. So if you can conceive of an eternal God, you can conceive of an eternal universe, and that is one of the theories. Is that singularity simply didn't have any beginning ever, and so, you know, if you can conceive of one, you can conceive of the other, and if you deny one while accepting the other, then again, that's just you and your exceptionalism, you know, pretending um, that you know, what's good for you doesn't have to be good for everybody else. If there was evidence for God, then we'd all believe, period. Scientists would believe, they'd study the evidence, they'd lay the evidence out there, it would be peer reviewed. The fact that you think it's evidence doesn't mean shit. You know, that's not evidence, it doesn't meet the definition of evidence. Why won't these people wake up? It's a bedtime story. Yeah, that's a scary one too. It's not even a fun one. Man-made God to cover the unexplainable. Yes, exactly. Thank you for answering. Did you get to any of the scientific parts within the Quran? No, but I've heard that Captain Dadpool enough, and I went live with apostate. I always do that. I want to say apostate when I mean apostate. It just seems to come out of my mouth better. Apostate Aladdin, a highly trained individual who was you know, educated in the Quran, grew up in Saudi Arabia, speaks fluid Arabic. He'll tell you flat out that the science in the Quran is just it's not even right. None of it is actually really right. The embryology and shit, and also it insults ancient people. They weren't stupid. They knew stuff. They did autopsies. They found, you know, women died in pregnancy, and they opened them up and they discovered different stages of the embryo. You know, none of the science in the Quran is anything that wasn't already known. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been written down. Brimstone Head in Fogo Island off the coast of Newfoundland is one of the four corners of the earth. Sweet, man. I want to go there. Take a picture so we can see, you know, that right angle. I believe that I love that there's places that I don't know why my head went there, but there's places on the globe where you can go and get perspective. You can get a view of enough of the terrain around you to feel where you are on the globe. And there's a few places like that to me, and one of them is man-made to me. It's the Chicago Skyway. When you're up on the Skyway and you can see Chicago on the corner of Lake Michigan, it just gives you a bigger sense of your position on the planet. And there's an outlook point over Lake Erie in Pennsylvania where I get that sense, and that sounds to me like your Fogo is one of those places. American Christians don't realize much of anything. They're nearly brain dead. And again, I'm generalizing. That's not all of them. I know some very intelligent Christians, and none of them are science deniers, and none of them take the Bible literally. But the people who make up the vast majority of evangelical Americans don't have any idea. They don't have any idea about it. Some guy early on, when TikTok was very new, this fat ass from the Carolinas, like sloppy redneck fuck. He was like, the Bible, Jesus said Jesus want, and he basically, his point was at the end that Jesus didn't want us to be preaching in public and to be pious, okay, which he wasn't wrong about that. Jesus talks about that, but in the end of his video, he's like, Jesus, if you're doing that kind of thing, you're just another Pharisee, you're just another Jew, and Jesus didn't want us to be Jews. Jesus wanted us to be Christians. This is the level of intelligence that these people have. Jesus didn't know what a Christian was. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. And this guy was like, he was so full of himself and so happy with his logic, and eating pizza and slopping on his t-shirt and telling us that, well, atheists don't want to see me mad. They don't want, let me tell you what, they don't want to see me mad. Let me tell you what, buddy, atheists don't want to see you at all, you fuck. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. God doesn't exist. Of course he doesn't. AAI is an employee focus group akin to IBCN, Intel Bible-based Christian Network. Good for you, man, and good for your company for allowing that to happen. I'd love to know more about that. That's fucking fantastic. Religion is a lie, but God is space time. Yeah, however you want, however you got to frame it to get yourself to sleep at night. But sir, thank you for being a force for good. Thank you, Cat Squirt. ah, Cat Squirt. That's my favorite one of the day, man. That's nasty. I love animals. I love cats too, but you got to be careful. You leave a towel on the floor, your cat's pissing on it. What do you think of the idea God does exist, but is defined as this fictional character? That's the only way he can be defined is as a fictional character, because human beings wrote the stories of God. There's no evidence that God does exist, so I can't go there for you. But it's possible, it's absolutely possible that God exists and is hiding from us. It's not possible that a benevolent God exists. It's not possible that he cares about humankind, because that's demonstrably not true. But I'm willing to admit that maybe a God exists. It's simply the least plausible answer to the questions of the universe, because there's no evidence for it. It's the least plausible answer, and because of that, I do not believe that a God exists, and therefore I call myself an atheist, not an agnostic. The t-shirt says praise the Lord. If you didn't see it and you're just joining, it says praise the Lord, and it's not an atheist t-shirt. It's just a barbecue joint t-shirt that I thought was really cool and really clever, so I picked it up. I use it for atheism, believe me, and people love it. I think it's sad that church people think they are somehow superior over trees, animals, and all others. Yeah, that was a big one for me too, man. And when I never met a creationist until I came to the Midwest. And I'm sure we have them in New England, but they're not as prominent. And maybe there's more today because it's become kind of a thing. But when I grew up, every church was a mainline Protestant church. Every church in my area, if it wasn't Catholic, who also accept evolution, by the way, they were Baptists or Methodists or Wesleyans or Congregationalists or evangelicals. I see that. I don't mean that. I mean Episcopalians, a big E word, big long E words. Episcopalians, which was the Church of England in America, and Presbyterians. None of those people were biblical literalists. So it was new to me when I really came to the Midwest and met a creationist who was talked down about animals. He's like, that's just a dumb animal. They really feel like they were put here to have dominion over animals, and that they're better. And I'm not willing to go there at all. I thought that was really dumb. That was another reason why I was like, really? Me and my boss, when we met, we were both atheists at the time, and this was 30 years ago. And we met this kid, and he was proud enough. He was a good guy too. His name was Craig, and I liked him. He was a good kid. He was a hell of a golfer. Oh my God, he would golf your ass off. Went to Purdue, not surprisingly. Went to Purdue and learned about grass. But yeah, he was raised as a creationist, and one time he's like his eyes got beady. More beady than usual, and he was like, "It's just a stupid animal. It's like that doesn't have a soul." And it came out that he was a creationist, and he really believed that the Bible, Genesis was a true account of events, and that the Earth was only 6,000 to 10,000 years old, or whatever the fuck it is that they believe. And we were both like, "What?" I'd never met anybody who thought that before, and now it's just like every other asshole you meet thinks that. Religion is a crutch, and sadly, people they need the crutch, And if you need the crutch, then good, keep the crutch. That's good for you. But like I say, we're trying to get to a point where people are more educated than that, and they don't need that crutch. I grew up in Minnesota, and I don't know any creationists. I think evangelicals moved in recently. You didn't know any creationists. That's what I mean. It's a whole thing that came about with the conservative movement that Reagan ushered in with his creepy "just say no" wife. The 70s were like really great, and I miss them every day. And then Reagan came along and fucked everything up. And evangelical Christianity followed in his wake of neoconservatism that followed. I remember going to prep school, and my first year of that prep school, they reinstated a dress code that had been taken away for the late 60s and 70s. They got rid of the dress code at the school, and they reinstated it. And that to me was part of that conservative movement where the hippie ideal was ending, and the free-spirited 60s and 70s were coming crashing to a close, and life was never going to be the same again. Now, there's some bad things about the 70s. The pollution was pretty shitty. You could walk across most rivers on the pollution, and other stuff went on. But I miss the 70s every fucking day, man. I tell people that all the time. I miss the 70s every day because everything changed after the 80s. religion got dumbed down. The mega churches started sprouting up. People started leaving their old Protestant mainline denominations because their preacher was too liberal and they weren't getting a simple, straightforward enough, just believe this Bible here and you will go to heaven and don't question and don't, and it makes it easy for them. It makes it easy for the simple-minded person to just say, yes, okay, I'll believe, thank you, and they don't question it at all. And so any theological debate that I grew up with in church went out the window, and you go to this mega church and this asshole takes your money and tells you what to believe, and you don't look into it. So none of those people know anything about their own religion anymore. I love how similar the Jesus story matches dozens of other stories in early religions. Yeah, Randy, that's a big one for me too. When you realize that, when they went to find they went to Mesopotamia to find artifacts that would back up the Bible, and what they found was the tale, the Enuma Elish, right, and the Epic of Gilgamesh, and they realized then that all these Hebrew stories were based on earlier myths. You know, the great irony of that, and that's lost on religious people. They don't care. It's indoctrination and what they want to believe. So, but again, anybody who looks at what really happened, it's obvious that the Bible is just a new version of older myths. And so why would the newest one be the best one? If you're going to believe that shit, believe the original, right? Go back and find the first one and believe that, because there's no reason to think that a newer version is more pure or more directly from God than the old one. Again, that's why Islam and Muhammad's wacky work, it doesn't hold any weight with me. It's like, why you're just inventing a new version of old shit? Doesn't make it any more closer to God. If anything, it makes it further and more watered down. The t-shirt says praise the Lord. Again, somebody else asked, praise the Lord. It's a barbecue joint t-shirt that I love. Goes along with the atheism. Yeah, humanism is the way to go. And if you need a meaning for life, then taking care of the planet and taking care of the human beings are that's the way to go. Why are liberals so afraid of being Islamophobic? They're just too politically correct. Religion needs to be called out for its stupidity. And I get the feeling that you want to take care of everybody and you want to defend their rights to be whatever they want to be, but they take it too far when they're afraid to call out religions, and that it just entitles religion to commit further atrocities when you excuse what they do out of respect for that just being someone's religion. Fuck that. Religion doesn't deserve any respect until it does. And if it shows you a reason to respect a part of it, then yeah, that's great. There's a nice church down the road that accepts the gay people and raises money for the poor, and those things are respectable. But no, in general, no. If Islam is murdering people in France for drawing pictures and beheading teachers for talking and drawing pictures, it needs to be fucking ended. It needs to go away. I think it's because it's tied to the fact that they think they'll be racist towards Arabs. That's what I mean. Everybody's too afraid to make fun of somebody, and it doesn't make you a racist to make fun of something that's funny. And I'm not PC because I'm old enough to remember a time before PC when everybody didn't take themselves so seriously. That's it's not hate to make fun of something that's funny. How do you determine what's respectable and what's not? I guess that's a subjective choice on you. I mean, if it's not hurting somebody else, to me, most things are in play to me. If you're not actively hurting someone else or demonstrably hurting someone else, then most things are in play. Of course, they like to cherry pick the Bible. That's what they do. That's where we started talking about the fact that they're starting to just rewrite new versions of the Bible to take out the slavery talk because they're starting to get sick of people bringing it up to them. So they're just going to write. They're going to write new Bibles without that shit in it. But it's the Word of God still. But I'm going to just change this right here. Don't be simple-minded and say Adam and Eve. Very true. What's the meaning of life? There's no meaning of life. We're just a species on the planet. We have evolved brains that makes us want to look for meaning. If you can't see that, then you're not using your brain. We know that we're just an animal, and we're obviously not going to die out. We've succeeded in overpopulating the planet in a way that no other species will ever approach, except for maybe nematodes. They do pretty well. But yeah, there's no meaning to life, and there's no inherent meaning to life. You give your life meaning by looking for experience, travel, trying to learn as much as you can about culture and the world, and edifying yourself and helping people, and getting rid of getting rid of the racism and the bigoted prejudice that plagues us all, the systemic racism that the country has been involved in since its founding, the genocide of Native American kids in Canada and beyond. I'm sure they're going to find in those schools in America. I'm sure they are. If it happened in Canada, you be goddamn sure it pretty surely happened in America too. How did life begin without God? Cyanosulfidic chemistry. Again, please look it up. We know how life began without God. Thanks for the follow. Penny Royalty. It's already 12:05. I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes, and then I'm going to move along. I really, really appreciate everybody being here. New followers, I love you all. Thank you so much for following. Kurt Vonnegut wrote a lot of great views. Yeah, you know what? I should revisit Kurt Vonnegut. I tried to read him when I was too young. I was an advanced reader, and so some of my teachers gave me stuff that I could read the words, but it was intellectually I wasn't ready for it because I was a class clown, and I enjoyed being a punk too. Thanks. You love the whistle. I love you. Radical artist. Are you sending sheep? Are you married? No, I'm not married. I'm divorced. I got 3 kids and a new grandbaby, and I am in a committed relationship with a lovely young woman. Yeah, we're all still class clowns, believe it too. That's fine. I'm sitting there with a whistle and a hat on. Thanks, Matt. Much respect from Folsom, California. Folsom. We were just talking about the Johnny Cash album from Folsom Prison. That's Folsom, California, right? Folsom Prison. Budget Superman. Another great name, man. I love all the usernames. I'm sorry if I didn't see yours and I didn't get to. I'm a friend of Aaron Ra. I can call Aaron Ra anytime. Interviewed him for the podcast. And I've interviewed him like 4 times, and I've done him for 3 or 4 events with him. And yeah, I love Aaron Ra. Great mind and a big burly dude, man. I wouldn't want to make that guy mad. I got to tell you what. But yeah, if you don't know Aaron Ra, check out his videos. See, no one can debunk creationists like Aaron Ra. It's fucking fabulous. If I might debate creationists if I had my head around the arguments like he does. When you listen to him, you just think, yes, this is fucking great. Yeah, he's a great popularizer of science and a great debunker of. I call him the creationist wrestler and the ZZ Top of atheism. He's got hair down to his ass and a big beard, and he's like a biker dude. Yeah, Aaron is king. And his wife too. I've had her on the podcast. Have a nice day. You too, Exorcist. Love you. Scott M41 joined. Hey, Scotty. Opinion on not religious but cultural Christianity, celebrating holidays and God we trust. Yeah, and God we trust is dumb because we don't all trust in God. That's just a divisive, ruinous motto as far as I'm concerned. What happened to E pluribus unum? From many, one. In God we trust is literally like the opposite of that because it's taking only the people who believe in God and acting like the motto only suits them. Whereas E pluribus unum, the original motto, from many, one, is a perfect description of the melting pot that was the United States. Now we're just a bigoted, we don't want any immigrants here. You dirty Mexican to go back across the border and stay there. Yeah. So yeah. Cultural Christianity is what I am. I talk about that with Apostate Aladdin. He calls himself an ex-Muslim, and he's like, "Do you call yourself an ex-Christian?" And I'm like, "You know what? I really don't, even though I technically am, obviously. But I think of myself as a cultural Christian, like Jews will consider themselves cultural Jews, secular Jews, because they still celebrate Passover because it's the time you get together with your family, and that's what we all grew up with. America is steeped, obviously, in the Christian holidays, and there's no reason to not have fun on the holidays and take a day off work and reflect on the great things that have gone on in your life and meet your people and smoke a little weed and drink a little whiskey, and have some good food, So if that happens on Christmas, that's great. I like to call it the solstice, just to be a gadfly with my family. But yeah, I don't have any problem with people. I wish everybody was a cultural Christian and not a fucking religious fanatic Christian. Player piano. I'll try to look at that. Thank you. Back Jack. By Vonnegut. There's a book recommendation for everybody. Yeah, who doesn't love the secular version of Christmas? It's great, And it's not any different today than it is. And when I was growing up, it was about the commercialization of Christianity. Today is a war on Christmas. But the war on Christmas back in the day, it still existed. They just spun it as, why is it so commercial? Why is it all about the presents and the money and the spending that people do around the holidays. That was what the Christians railed against, and that's what led to the Keep Christ in Christmas kind of thing, more than taking any actual religiosity out of Christianity, like they try to pretend that atheists are like making a war on Christmas because they want people to say Happy Holidays. I say Happy Holidays because it includes Thanksgiving and New Year's, not because I'm trying to avoid saying Christmas to people. But you don't know who you're going to say that to and who's not a Christian. So, to say Merry Christmas, if you know someone's Christian, then fucking say it. I don't care. But there's too many other things going on in America now to assume that everybody you meet is a Christian unless you know. So I don't find any disrespect in that, and I don't think that anybody's trying to get rid of Christmas because we say Happy Holidays. They don't trust in God, especially when their actions. Of course, they don't trust in God, especially when their actions to match Jesus. I'm not sure I understand that. Hey, from North Carolina. Hey. 24 new messages. This past year, my family wished me a Merry Christmas. I responded with Happy Yule, fool. Nice. Yeah, I'd love it. And I love the pagan takeover. I love the fact that pagans are reasserting themselves, even if they're religious pagans. It's a little silly, but it's wonderful to me then that the old religions are starting to push back against the assimilation that those cultures were subject to when Rome took over Europe. Really, that's the only reason all of us are Christians is because of that. And the fact that paganism survived, and Norse paganism and Celtic paganism and all those the original religions of Gaul and beyond in Europe survived enough to the point where people are starting to resurrect them. All puns intended. I think that's a beautiful thing. They did not succeed in cleansing that culture. So if people start calling it Yule again, I'd be very happy with that. Yeah, atheists are obviously safer people than religious. That's every time there's a shooting, a mass shooting, we learn that again. Convert a church to a snooker club. Who plays snooker? Anyone know snooker, my friend? Or something, but not an ugly mosque crosses the line. Are they converting churches to mosques? Or do you mean don't convert an ugly mosque to a snooker club? That's mean. I don't know if mosques are ugly by maybe you don't like the architecture, but I wouldn't go there just to call mosques ugly. Because to each their own, man. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It's the fundamentalism teaching that's ugly. What do you talk about on your podcast? How frequent is it? It's not frequent. I apologize for that. I wish, because this TikTok is so popular, I'm going to try to do the podcast more and maybe just change it to be me talking like this. But the podcast was conceived as a virtual railway going around to different stops in the secular movement. And so I would have a stop on mythicism, a stop on secularism, a stop on rationalism, a stop on humanism, a stop on free thinkers, a stop on anything I could think of, women in atheism, and I've gotten 26 episodes. I'm working on 27 right now about the Big Bang. And it's taken like 4 years to get 26 episodes out, but they are on iTunes. They are on Spotify. They are on atheistunderground.com. That's easy enough to remember. You can go there and listen to all the back episodes. So I try to keep it like thematic, and I try to have 3 or 4 sections within that theme. So I have maybe a roundtable discussion with some friends of mine before COVID. That hurt it too. And then maybe a comedy bit. I open each one with one random atheist just telling their story, very short, telling their story of why they're an atheist, how they came out, how they were raised. And then I have like an interview with somebody if I can, or a science article, or something that relates to the topic. And the early ones had news stories at the end, but I could never get them out fast enough. The news stories were like 2 weeks old by the time I got the podcast out. So I've given up that in the last few episodes and try to make them a little shorter. But I like them a lot. I like doing it. I like the way they come out. They're not like most guys' podcasts where it's just a talking head blabbing away. And I haven't even looked at the stats. I'm sure they've gotten more views because of the TikTok has blown up so well. But you can find them there at atheistunderground.com. All the old back episodes in a row. And on iTunes, on your Apple podcast, it'll come up. Just search Atheist Underground, they'll come up. What do you think of symmetry and entanglement? Yeah, I'm not studied enough I don't like symmetry in design very much. I like balance more than symmetry. I'm a landscape designer, and symmetry is, unless you're creating a knot garden or like a stylized formal garden, and symmetry is wrong. But I think you're talking about cosmological theory, entanglement. I don't know enough about that shit to really talk about it. Sorry. Mushmaster asks, Anthony Cam 001, circular reasoning, Growlhard. Yeah, we wouldn't convert a mosque because we have respect. Why? Respect for what? We need a mascot for Yule. How about the Yule Mule? I agree, not a good medium for serious written discussion. What do you think of the Satanic Temple? I love those guys. I love the Satanic Temple. They had a good bit going on. I wish atheists could get together and organize like those guys have managed to do, but they've got a thing, right? They got a gimmick. It's atheism with a gimmick, and they go around and they hammer the Christians by putting up Baphomet statues in public places where Ten Commandment statues are, and I think it's brilliant. I don't have anything bad to say about those guys, other than Lucian Greaves is kind of an arrogant douche, but who am I to throw stones at arrogant douches? But I've interviewed him too. As an atheist, do you think there's a meaning for life? No, we've already talked about that. There's no meaning for life other than the meaning that you give it. The meaning for me is to experience new things. Anything that I haven't done or seen before, I find will entertain my day and edify my intellectual curiosity. I thought Jesus was an extraterrestrial. Yeah. I can't prove he wasn't. Has anyone found Jesus's body yet? Yeah. No. Was the Grand Canyon created by a flood? The Grand Canyon was created by the Colorado River over eons, carving its way down through the rock. That's like fifth grade science. How often do people try to convert you after seeing your content? All the time. And that's what I mean. Christians try to convert you. Muslims try to kill you. So I got to say Muslims are probably a little bit worse for that. But the Christians are obnoxious beyond all description, right? I mean, right here on this live, we've had how many people? God loves you. At least they default to trying to convert you back. But it's just, mind your own business. You know what I mean? This is an atheist show. I don't go on Christian shows and try to deconvert people. Not once have I watched a Christian live. Not one fucking time. Why would people come on an atheist live and try to convince us of their unsupportable mythological ideas? It takes a real simple-minded person to want to do that, I think. And that's, talk about disrespect. I'll tell you what, I'm a young college student raised in a Christian home and have spent a while. You ran out. Time is your God, huh? Yeah, I guess so. I am my God. All right. Have you ever done anything with Seth Andrews or Matt Dillahunty? Yeah, both. Yeah, Seth. I got Seth's phone number on my phone. That's a name drop and brag for you, but yeah, I can call Seth anytime. And Dillahunty too. I can reach out to him. I have done an event with Matt Dillahunty. I've partied with him. I spent an evening with him, having some drinks and talking, and he's an amazing individual. Love both of those guys. Seth Andrews, maybe the best ambassador for atheism that there is. Wish he would run for office. Honestly, if you don't know who Seth Andrews is, watch the Thinking Atheist podcast. It's the most popular atheist podcast that's ever been. And Dillahunty at the Atheist Experience, he does great work. I don't watch it. I just don't have time to watch that kind of shit. Yeah, he's got a great mind. He can break down a situation. If he sees a dynamic happening, he can observe it and break it down and deconstruct it in words in a fabulously articulate way right away. I love Matt Dillahunty, and I love his hair. He's got great hair. Does Matt Dillahunty? I am so thankful to have access to like-minded community. Thanks, Carolyn. Carolyn Neal, thank you for being here. Funny thing, I as a pagan don't visit Christian lives to attempt to convert them. Yeah, nobody does. That's a Christian thing. Trying to convert people is a Christian evangelical thing, and it's the height of intolerance. When you can't tolerate other religions to the point where you have to convert them, that is intolerance. So how does Christianity call itself the religion of tolerance while it goes around to countries and doing missionary work? You build a bridge, but you got to give us your immortal soul. So not at all trying to convert, but simply trying to hold conversations with opposing perspectives. Yeah, I guess. Okay. Aliens, what's your opinion about aliens? They're out there somewhere. They haven't visited Earth, clearly. That's all of that is conspiracy theory, but I do believe that there's life in this huge universe. It's just too big. What I want to know is, are Christians going to be upset about that, or are they just going to spin that as more of God's creatures, that he has the mental capacity to pay attention to life on their planets too, because there's likely thousands of them. The universe is so many billions of galaxies in the universe that they're starting to discover planets, rocky planets from a similar distance from a similar yellow sun. So that's what it takes, and you're on your way. So there's likely life, whether it's evolved to our point or past it. It's unlikely that they've gotten further, because it took this long for life on Earth to get to where we are. So it's unlikely in a universe that's the same age that other planets have gotten a lot further along technologically, unless maybe they gave up religion earlier. How about that? They might have been able to drag themselves further into the future by quitting religion earlier in their evolution. But yeah, Christians are going to be upset about anything. Yeah, anything that brings their cognitus to the surface, because they know it's bullshit. Underneath, they know, and they have fear that it's not real, and that hurts them because they were indoctrinated, and their grandma believed it, and they don't want to go against that. And it really is just a weak-mindedness. Funniest thing a religious man ever told you. My old pastor told me that God only made so many perfect heads, and the rest he covered with hair. So I don't know. That's a silly one that I said the other day that comes to mind. What's the deal with airplane food? It's gone away, isn't it? I don't fly that often. When I do that, it's like not even any food left on the airplane. I don't have enough money to pay first class. And the airline industry, woo, they took a shot. COVID did us all a favor with airfare rates, didn't they? Always curious what people mean when they say God spoke to them. They mean that they're mentally ill. They need help. What's your opinion? I think I've gotten back through some of these questions here. Yeah, get them in. If you got a few more questions, I'm going to cut it off here pretty soon. I know I say that and then I keep going. Who's the number one bullshit preacher of the day? I don't know. Don't pay attention to those dudes. Probably Joel Osteen, fucking fuckwit. He doesn't even believe in God. He thinks he's God, and he's proven it every day by amassing wealth on a scale that most of us can't even dream of. Flat earthers are stupid beyond belief. I think that a lot of flat earthers just want to be contrarian. Don't you think? I don't even think that they really get a lot of thought to it. They just want to. Same with moon landing deniers. They just want to be contrarians. I think they want the attention that comes from being someone who goes against the grain. People who think that the Earth is flat. You need help, man. You need help. Any prominent atheists with ulterior motives? Sex. I think that's been shown. Larry Krauss fell victim. David Silverman fell victim. I think that, and the only ulterior motives that I've ever seen from atheists are people who end up using their popularity to try to get over on chicks or others. But as far as trying to take over society and control people, no, I don't think atheists in general are very interested in that. How is your Sunday? Atheist Hub, what's up, man? Didn't see you there. Yeah, Sunday's good, man. I'm going to have to go live it here in a minute. How do you think the first simple life forms were? You can read about that. They were simple. There were amino acids and simple proteins that then evolved into simple cells and simple bacteria, from what I understand. I'm not the guy to ask that. I trust what the people who study it for their whole lives tell us about that. So no one's told me what Jimmy Snow is yet, I don't think. If I missed it, sorry. I'm reading the questions now, so I can't see the screen. And that's all the questions that were there so far. So get rid of that. Go back down to the bottom. Atheists have higher IQs than religious. Yeah, that's a dangerous assumption. The more educated and the more intelligent you are, the more likely you are to be atheists. But atheism doesn't make you smarter than religious people. There's super religious people that are super smart. They're just indoctrinated, and they can't get past that. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not smart. But yes, I agree. The more educated the world becomes, and the higher your IQ is, the less likely you are to believe that for which there is no evidence. Jimmy Snow runs the line. He has to hang up with Matt Dillahunty. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. On the Atheist Experience you're talking about? Yeah, I don't watch that shit. I don't have time to sit in front of YouTube. So if someone links me something they want me to see, I'll look at it. If God didn't create Satan, then hell would never exist if he knew and it did anyway. Freckle Warrior. What's up, Freckle Warrior? Don't really understand that. Yeah, how did marsupials get to Australia after the Great Flood? Yeah, that whole story is such bullshit. In all caps, Hilly407. Jesus loves you. All caps. All right, buddy. Nice story. Cool story, bro. Thoughts on the Catholic Church and the mass graves of Native children? Yeah, watch my video from yesterday. It's disgusting. It's, again, religious exceptionalism. People who are assuming that the other groups are less than they are because they don't think the way that they do. And it's just awful. The Canadian government, the American government, they should be disgusted with themselves for trying to culturally cleanse Native American culture. We've lost languages. I'm a language guy, and it breaks my heart, makes me want to cry that we don't have Cherokee anymore, and we don't have any of the Caribbean islanders. We don't have any Seminoles. We don't have any of the Boricua. We don't have any people from where Columbus came and brought them syphilis, among other gifts. Those people are gone. They're gone forever. And that's a shame. And that's what people actively tried to do. Like, at least Columbus was a dick. Everyone knows he was a dick, but at least they didn't really get, virology and bacteriology, and they didn't understand that they were bringing diseases that people had no immunity to, and that they were going to wipe out a whole civilization just by being explorers. They didn't know that. The Canadian government knew that they were trying to expunge indigenous people and their culture from the planet. And that's inexcusable. It's disgusting. And the Catholic Church's role in that, and other churches too, not just Catholics, they need to be shut down for it. They need to be held accountable for that. And there are other crimes against little boys and little girls everywhere. I believe in God because He has showed me that He's real. Yeah, you should go get psychological help, buddy. Or they think saying God told them gives their opinion weight. Yeah. I'm a prophet. Anyone who says they're a prophet and then other people believe them just because they said it. Yeah, the skeptic in me has an issue with that. That is it. The root of it, fear, the foundation of religion. Yeah, that's right, Carolyn. What's the deal with? Okay, back to that. Let me go down. Thanks for sharing, J-Town. Thanks for sharing the video. Atheists get no what? Atheists get no pussy? What are you, out of your fucking mind? Why do you think we celebrate people like Columbus? We don't really anymore. That's going away. In fact, I want to lobby. We have a Columbus statue downtown because there's a huge Italian population here in Kenosha, and the Columbus statue needs to go. The name of the town is from the Indian name, the Winnebago or Potawatomi name maybe for northern pike. That's what Kenosha comes from. And yet here we have a Columbus statue out on the lake. Yeah, it needs to go. The thought that atheists don't get laid is ridiculous. People who don't think God is watching them have no guilt about sex. So atheists actually get 10 times more sex than religious people. Unless you're on Christian Mingle, where you can find like-minded people to hold hands with until you're married and not have sexual intercourse, because that's not what God wants. Christian dating services, could you ever even imagine? Good Lord. Why do believers forego their scientific training when it comes to religious doctrine? Indoctrination. It's a powerful thing, man. A powerful thing. Do you sometimes say, oh my God, yeah, I've said it 10 times on this live, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's just an expression. It doesn't mean anything. Are you a Christian? No. Christians claim God is all-knowing, so when He created Satan, He knew that. So yeah, all that stuff is it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't hold up to any scrutiny. You have to be able to beat back down your logic if you're going to believe the complicated dogma, the complicated statements of Christian dogma. I don't know who Sarah Salvander is. Thank you for being on this platform and allowing open discussion. As an atheist, I feel persecuted. Yeah, well, good. I don't really, but I should. I don't see it as much, but people don't use my business because they find out I'm an atheist. I know that happens, and all of us would be a lot more successful probably if there wasn't that prejudice in society. So thank you. And thanks for calling it open discussion. I wish that that I didn't have to get rid of the trolls, but this is just not the place for that. This is not a debate forum. This is not I don't want to have a live where I continuously argue with one Christian on the thread. That's not interesting to me. And I don't feel like it would be. Maybe if some of you like debates, you can, bug Captain Deadpool, the guy who went to seminary and came out of religion knowing it was bullshit. That's who you need to debate Christians. People who were trained in it, came up through it, learned so much about it that they couldn't believe it anymore. Those are the right people, and they like to, they want to. And our guy, Atheist Troll, Jeff the Atheist Troll, he'll debate you. Me, I'm just not into it. Do you think recognizing religion could be harmful? What? Why? And why would we engage? Flat Earth people should just be ignored. Recognizing religion? No, I mean, we need to recognize religion. We need to accept that people have religion. We don't need to respect it out of hand just because it's religion. That leads to all kinds of atrocities, and we're seeing that now. Imagine atheism being your only personality trait. The thing is, it's not a trait. It describes a lack of belief. And if it wasn't for the fact that we need to come together as a voting bloc and we need to have solidarity as a group, I would be one of those people who don't like the term. We shouldn't even have to have the term. It's only because of the ubiquitousness, the ubiquity of religion, that we need a term for those who don't believe in the old myths. It's the only reason it exists. So, and I get why that bugs people. It shouldn't have to exist. There's so much stigma in being an atheist. Yeah, and they think we're Satan worshipers. It's just, again, it shows their ignorance. Yeah, respect is earned. Exactly, Matt. No one is entitled to it. All right, 12:30. I'm going to quit. Please go to the YouTube and follow if you haven't. And thanks for being on the YouTube, everybody. And thanks for the thumbs up if you're there. And I'm sorry that the questions don't work. I just can't see them. And I don't know why. But maybe we'll figure that out one day. Go to atheistunderground.com and watch the podcast or listen to the podcast. Go to the Instagram and follow. And I promise I'll make it more active. I've been better with the Instagram lately, and I'll put some more shit up on there for you all. Go to cafepress.com/atheist underground gear at cafepress.com, and you can buy the What's Missing t-shirt and some cool Atheist Underground logo shit. Love you all. Next time I will see you on Wednesday. If I'm back, I might have to travel, but I can usually do it from the road when I travel. Appreciate you all. Love you long time. I would climb right through the screen and make love to all of you if I could. So thanks for joining, buddy, and I'll see you later.